Hello, viewers. Welcome to this Saturday. No, wait, it's Sunday night stream. I got you. I definitely didn't say it wrong. Nope, I always say it right. Yeah, if something is different about the lighting, it's because my cheap ass ring light broke. And I did order a new one, but it's not here yet. So that's why my face is a little. I just have like one big lighting source and like a bigger lighting source up there, but that's why the lighting looks a little different. So just wanted to bring that up before you got all confused. Okay, so how is everyone doing? How's your weekend been? Yeah, it's a Saturday evening, so I said it wrong again. It's a Sunday. All right, it's a Sunday. It's a Sunday, everyone. And how was your weekend? My weekend was pretty good. My partner was here today and yesterday, so it's just good to be together with the person I love, obviously. And that's not the only reason I canceled the stream tonight. Yesterday, I was watching another live stream right before I would go live, and that was a bit too much. So I was like, well, I don't want to ignore my partner, and I also want to watch this other stream that's important to me. And that's also why I'm starting earlier tonight, because the other stream I want to see, which I'm a big fan of, Simply Nailogical, if you couldn't tell by my obsession with nail polish. So I want to watch their stream when they go live tonight, so that's why I'm starting earlier tonight. Yeah. So what are we talking about tonight? My friend Jubilee actually offered a suggestion in my Discord, which you can join. You can join my Discord. I'll just throw the link out there right now. This Discord. There we go. You can go join, and we have a mental health channel, so you can give suggestions about topics you want to talk about, and just let us know how you're doing. We have some other channels as well, and some streamer shout outs, and just check it out. Let's check it out. I think more and more people are joining, so we're kind of really getting into vibe, and it's becoming a really awesome place to be, so be sure to join us. So Jubilee offered the topic of how to deal with being overwhelmed. And specifically in the context of, we've all been kind of inside for the past 1.5 years. Now that a lot of people, at least in, Western or richer countries, are vaccinated, we're all going outside again. We are getting into crowds and being around other people, and we're not really used to that anymore. And especially with the neurodiverse amongst us, or people who are dealing with depression and anxiety, it can be a lot. But being overwhelmed is it's a bigger topic than just that situation. And it's something I also learned about in therapy, so I want to share that knowledge with you. And I actually prepared some notes. So that was example, but what is being overwhelmed? So let's start there. I mean, kind of already the word already describes it. There's a lot going on, and you can't really process what is happening anymore. You feel bad. You don't really know what to do. Either you feel bad physically or mentally or both. You're tired. You usually want to shut out everything, find a quiet place, go home. It's all just kind of too much for you. And the reason for that, I think it just has to do with just getting too much information, getting too much sensory information, combined with maybe being physically tired, being dehydrated, just things like being out in the sun too long, so you're kind of overheating, or you're out in the cold too long, so you're it's like physically you're in a kind of a prolonged period of discomfort, and all those things can contribute to being overwhelmed. So this is something different than what I talked about last week, which is specifically having a PTSD trigger. which can also be overwhelming. But I'm kind of talking about kind of the something coming from the outside. It doesn't really have to do with your issues. It does affect you a lot, and especially if these kind of things stack up, you can really become affected badly, and you will have to recover for a while. And this is something that happens to autistic people a lot, because the things that do not bother neurotypical people, aka people without autism, they do bother people with autism. So we tend to pick up much more information about our environment. We hear sounds much more, we smell scents, we see, for example, sunlight to me is very, very intense. So I actually got new glasses this year, which automatically kind of polarize towards sunglasses. So as soon as I'm in sunlight, they will go darker and they will block off some of the light coming in, which is very useful. So that's an example. I often work with my curtains closed, or if it's bright outside, because if it's cloudy it's fine, just so I can kind of focus and there isn't too much light. I actually prefer to have like synthetic lights, I guess, like natural lights instead of sunlight outside, because it's too much. And the same is with scents, sounds, and especially if you're no longer used to it, which I think a lot of us are, these things can be very overwhelming. And another example is going to a party. Let's say you really like the people there, but there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of sound, there's maybe kids, there's pets, people are laughing, there's loud music, there's all sorts of foods. Like, when you think about it, that's a lot going on. And that's why for autistic people, a party, a social occasion can be a lot of fun, but we have to kind of cut it off at some point. It's like we will go home earlier, or we need a break to kind of recharge from the party before we can rejoin it. And that's kind of the next step that I want to talk about. So how do you notice that you're overwhelmed? So this is kind of the first step to learning how to deal with it, is learning how to recognize it, and especially recognizing it before it goes too far. So before you're really like completely shut down. So how would you notice that you are getting overwhelmed? So I can of course only speak from personal experience and what I've heard from others. Just as a disclaimer, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a licensed mental health professional, I'm not a psychologist, I don't have a degree in psychology, but I speak from my own experience, from having had lots of therapy, and from having talked a lot with people in therapy and with therapists and psychologists. So I know a lot about this. But just to be sure, if you're in a crisis situation, call your local emergency services. And if you recognize some of these things, then I recommend talking to your GP, talking to a mental health professional to see how they can help you. So how do you notice being overwhelmed? I listed off during and after. So you are already being overwhelmed, like you're getting too much input. How do you notice this? For me, the first thing I notice is that I start dissociating. And dissociating kind of feels like you're stepping away from the situation, and to other people it just looks like you're zoning out. So you're just kind of like staring, you're not really listening to what they're saying, you're kind of looking through them. And this is basically your brain trying to shut out the world and trying to recharge and kind of find some stability and stop all this information from coming in. And I often notice I'll be stimming, and stimming is what autistics do to manage sensory input. They will do like, if stimming comes in all sorts of forms. So for me, the most common thing is I'll be rubbing my hands, because I wear nail polish and I have long nails now. I will be rubbing the tips of my nails. I'll be lightly scratching, not painfully, but just kind of raking my hands. This gives me sensory information that I can regulate. So instead of having all these things that I can't predict, knowing that I'm doing this touching, it calms me down. And you have to think about it like really in like neurological information way. It's just kind of a way to go like, okay, I can feel this. I know what's going on. It's really a way of creating stability. And autistics stim in all sorts of ways. So some common ones are flailing your hands, clapping, scratching. There's a lot of things, and sadly, a lot of autistic children are discouraged from stimming because the adults and children around us bully us for it, or they tell us not to do that. That actually makes being overwhelmed worse because now you can't stim and you can't regulate your brain activity. So if you see an autistic stimming, it is a sign that they might be getting overwhelmed. There might be more like they need some kind of space to calm down, but it's not something that is bad or should be discouraged. It's just a way of them dealing with their environment. So that's definitely during so mental, I'm saying dissociating, and I often also like start thinking about, I need to get out of here, I need to get away, I want peace, leave me alone. These kind of things tell me that I'm in a situation where I need some time away to recharge before I can go back. Welcome to the Maniacs, Kyle and Parker. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Now let me close my browser before it just loads. Hey Kyle, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? So how do you notice you have been overwhelmed? Afterwards, welcome Ed Horace. Welcome to the stream as well. Dominique, yes, that's right, with 2 A's. Totally. So afterwards, you really notice you have been overwhelmed, or you still are overwhelmed, but you're just really tired. And personally, I get a headache. I either get a headache like here, or like in my eyes. It's very close to having a migraine, but not quite the same thing, but it is very intense, painful headache. That tells me like, okay, I just need to lie down in a dark room and having no stimulation whatsoever. So no light, no sounds, nobody touching me, just complete peace. I just need to kind of lie, almost float in the dark until my brain has recharged. And doing this actually really feels like your smartphone plugged in and you're just kind of recharging. Like we're going 10%, 15, 20. That's really what it feels like. Yeah, I got a lot of stress headaches as well. That's definitely very common to being overwhelmed, is having this kind of headache, basically because your brain is just like working really intensely to deal with all this information. And a physical after effect is usually also like, I want people to leave me alone. I'm kind of angry, irritated. Basically, you know how a child can be when they're very tired and they just kind of want to cry and you don't really know what to do with them. That's also a child being overwhelmed, and it's more common for any child, even neurotypical children, to kind of feel this way because they don't really have the tools to deal with the big grown-up world. So children will tend to like be overwhelmed more quickly and they will need to rest more. That's why we send kids to bed earlier because their brains need a lot of more stress to get all this information sorted. And that's kind of how I feel and how a lot of people feel after they are overwhelmed. They're just kind of tired and kind of crying. They're just like, leave me alone. And you also don't really know what to do with yourself because you're like, am I thirsty? Am I hungry? What do I want? I don't really know, because your brain's just like, it's just frizzed out. And the only way to really deal with that is just, get some rest. And especially for autistics, I actually just recommend taking a nap and make sure you kind of limit it. So don't immediately sleep for like 4 hours, but say like 45 minutes or an hour, or just, set an alarm and make sure you get a good nap in. And also definitely don't skimp out on painkillers. I usually take like 2 paracetamol or ibuprofen, or just kind of whatever painkiller works for you. Nothing too strong, obviously. But if you have a headache, it's totally okay to take painkillers for that, because you don't have to just power through it. Ooh, you're dealing with ADHD, anxiety, depression, barely functioning, barely getting by a normal job. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Kyle. That's really hard. I recognize a lot of that. I do have a day job, and I think I'm getting by, but it's definitely hard. So on my days off, I do have to recuperate a lot, and I don't have a lot of energy to do anything else. Hey, Big Will, welcome to the stream. I'm always overwhelmed. Help me. That is the next point I'm talking about. So first off, how do you deal with being overwhelmed? And the first step would be prevention, which is this sounds great in theory, but it's hard to implement. Is basically before you go into a situation that you know is going to be stressful, that you know is going to be overwhelming, you think about how to make this safer for yourself. So at a party, you can inform people beforehand. You can be like, okay, if I'm overwhelmed, can I take some time apart? You can ask them like, hey, what is the dinner situation? Are there going to be children at the party? Are there going to be pets? What kind of music are you playing? Like, what is the situation? Because the more you know, the more you can prepare, and the more you can kind of schedule in some time. So you can be like, okay, it's a lot, but I'll be there for an hour. Or you can be like, hey, I'll be there for half an hour, then we're gonna go out, we're gonna take a break, then we're gonna come back. Or you can just say like, okay, this sounds like a lot and I'm not gonna show up because it's too much for me, but I'd like to meet you some other time. So that's a big part of it, is just prevention. For me, for example, I like going on a walk, but it's also a lot. So I took a walk with my partner yesterday, and I was definitely exhausted afterwards, and I'm still tired of it today. I had a headache. At the same time, it's like, yeah, we're going outside, it's exercise. You would think this would be recharging, but for me, it is also overwhelming to just be in an environment, have people around, noises, smells, just physically tiring. There's a lot going on. You drink alcohol in the evenings on the weekends, so it's not a good habit. It's putting me in downward spiral. Yeah, that's not good. And if you're struggling with that, I definitely recommend just getting some help with that, because you don't really need to struggle with this alone. I know some people who also cope with alcohol or have coped with alcohol, and I totally get that, because it's, alcohol numbs a lot of your outside input, and you just kind of, for me, it also really lowers my anxiety. But I'm also kind of a social drinker, so I don't really drink a lot by myself. I have like one beer a week. But yeah, I definitely get that kind of wanting to numb things, calm down. And alcohol can help with that, but as you know, it's not a good habit, and it can do a lot of damage to your body, and also, if it gets worse, to your relationships. And like I said, you don't have to cope with that alone. And for example, if you talk to your GP or maybe a therapist, they can help you maybe find medication and ways to kind of deal with it in a healthier way. So I definitely recommend that. But like I said, I also get it, because it's kind of almost a socially acceptable way is to drink, and people don't always realize that it's not a good thing for some people. For example, in the past, I was addicted to MMORPGs, and I can't play MMOs the same way alcoholics can't drink. So I cannot play these games without getting addicted, and that's why I don't do it. So I get what it's like to have some kind of way of coping with these things. You've been sober 11 years. That is awesome, Will. That is awesome. Good work. Like, obviously, I don't want to shame anyone for struggling and finding a way to deal with that, but congrats, Will. Being sober is awesome, if this was something you previously struggled with. So prevention is one of the ways to deal with that, but what else can you do is big thing is boundaries. And that also takes kind of being aware of how you're feeling and saying like, okay, this is too much. I have to get out of here. I have to stop. And one of the biggest things I did in the past is not realize that I had a boundary and not indicating it, and now I do that. So if I'm at a party or an event, or I'm outside, things are getting too much and I feel like, okay, I'm not feeling good, Now I'm like, okay, I want to go home, or it's too much for me. Can we stop here? Or I'm gonna shut myself out for a bit. So it's very important to let other people know that things are becoming too much for you. And if they're good people, they can also help you with it. So if it's already becoming too much, you can also say like, okay, I notice I'm getting overwhelmed and I don't really know what to do. If you have like good friends, good family, they can also ask you like, okay, what do you want? What do you need? Do you need a dark room? Do you want to sit down somewhere quiet? Like, what's going on? So that's very important as well. And in the past, I used to really overstep my own boundaries at work. So there was a lot of like work related social events, not just like drinking, but also like team building stuff. And I was always crossing my own boundaries, and I would just have a headache for 3 days. And I had to learn the hard way that the only thing I can really do is either participate in a limited way, or just not go. Like if there is no way for me to participate in these events in a way that is still healthy for me, then the event is not inclusive towards autistics. And that's a whole other thing to talk about with the people who organize those work events, because a lot of work events are not inclusive towards neurodiverse people, sadly. Changing environment and posture helps overwhelm change something. Yeah, that's a very good one, actually. If you are getting overwhelmed and it's more anxiety related and not necessarily like sensory input, just making a change can help a lot. One of the things I learned is, let's say I'm getting overwhelmed with like emotions, like there's too much going on and my thoughts are racing. Something that can really happen, something that could really help, is to just get up and do something physical. Wash the dishes, pick up some stuff, go for a walk, anything that is a change. So that's a very, very good one, Will. Yeah, you have no stress for that first hour and it feels wonderful. Yeah, I get that, because that's kind of the numbing effect that the alcohol has. But the sad thing is, in the long run, there's definitely some downsides that are gonna weigh heavier. So, and I have a similar thing with like I said, MMOs, and I also have this with sugar. I definitely eat too much sugar. I'm trying to cut back, but it's really hard because I also get this immediate good feeling from it. Yeah, definitely. So, Kyle, this I'm glad to hear you're sharing. That's awesome. I'm glad that this is a safe space for you. And it's, how would I say it, like, you shouldn't feel bad or ashamed that you are struggling with this, because a lot of people are, and the world is not a great place and life is generally pretty hard. So the fact that you're talking about this, and I think you realize that this is not gonna make you happy in the long run, is a sign that you can reach out for help. And there's thankfully also a lot of people who can help with that. All right, so the next step of dealing with being overwhelmed is aftercare. So, okay, you've been overwhelmed. How do you deal with it after? So I mentioned before, you can basically take a nap, lie in a dark room. That helps a lot. Also talking to people about what's going on. There's a lot of things you can do, and basically have to find out what helps you recharge, and not necessarily what helps you escape or what makes you feel better, but something that really kind of, how would I put it, like, relaxes your brain. Sounds weird. It kind of like puts you at ease and makes you feel better and makes you feel more relaxed. So it could be like taking a bath, or just lying on the grass, or just hugging your pet for an hour. Just find out what the things are that really make you feel refreshed and just overall better. And you can write it down so you can remember it when you are overwhelmed. So that's the last part of this is Making a signal plan. So this is a technique I learned in therapy. Is you kind of make a plan for how to deal with these overwhelmed situations. Waking up in hangovers, calling up ex-girlfriends. Yeah, don't do that. It's a bad decisions. It's not good. Yeah. That's why I say, like, when you apply these coping methods like eating sugar or drinking or whatever, it might make you feel good in the short term, but in the long term it's not going to be good for you or your body or your life really. And it's not so much the coping itself as what is beneath it that you need help with. And often once you find out that once you go into therapy, also the need for these coping mechanisms like alcohol or food will decrease. So, hey Sky Quinn, thank you for the follow. Thank you so much. I'm out of water. Yeah, I'm prone to headaches, so I'm also prone to headaches when drinking, so that definitely stops me. Sometimes I get a headache when I'm still like having a drink, and I'm like, guess not. Water. So a signal plan. Kind of a plan you write. Hey, Sky Quinn, thank you so much for the raid, and thank you for the host. That is awesome. Not sure if I've seen you around before, so tell me about yourself. And how was your stream? Hope you had a good stream. That's awesome. I see your icon has a pansexual flag, so that's great. Yeah, I have the bisexual flag and the pride flag behind me. And Kyle, I really hope you can find the help and support you need, because like I said, if this is something you're really struggling with, there are definitely ways to get help. So I hope you're gonna get better in a while. I'm really sorry to hear that. All right, let me quickly dive into the signal plan. Let's see. So what you do with a signal plan is you kind of create these levels. So let's say level 0, you're doing fine. Level 1, you're a little bit stressed out. Level 2, you're getting a little bit overwhelmed. There's a lot going on. Then level 3. Level 3, okay, it's too much going on, and you can even do a level 4, like you're completely out of it. And what you're gonna do with each level, you're gonna write down what are the physical signals I associate with this level. What are the mental signals, like what am I thinking? You can also write down what are your actions, what are you actually doing, what do you want to do, like the urge to drink, for example. It could definitely be ADHD, and thankfully there's also some treatment available for ADHD to learn how to cope with this kind of thing better. So you have your signal levels, and then you also write down on this level, like, what can you do to kind of lower the level. So, take some time to relax. Also call a friend maybe, and also write down what others can do for you. So it's a good thing to share this plan with your loved ones, with close friends, close family, so that if you are getting overwhelmed, they can also check on it and maybe see how you're doing if you're not getting it, and they can kind of read what they can do. So for me, it's like, okay, leave me alone, don't touch me. Just let me take my nap, and I'll come back when I'm ready, when I'm recharged. So that's a big thing. But on other levels, I'm like, okay, can you ask me what's going on? Can you maybe ask if I want to break, if I want some water? And this kind of plan really can help you when you are overwhelmed and you kind of don't really know how to deal with it yet, or how to become aware of it. So I definitely encourage you to, you know, you can look it up. I think it's called a crisis plan or a signal plan, and there's some resources online on how to write these things. I trust the divine timing of the universe. I have boundless energy and endless flow of creativity. That's a really good way of putting it. You need to heal, you need to find myself. Yeah, exactly. That's really good that you're feeling this, and I really encourage you to hang on to this feeling. And I also feel that way. Like, I have this flow of creativity, and when it's like when I'm getting overwhelmed and tired, I can't really feel that anymore. And it's good to hang on to that, kind of like a lifeline to where you have to go in life. All right, that was a whole talk. There was a lot going on. Naturally self-confident and comfortable with myself. Very good to hear that. Yeah, so you hang on to that. I see my support Moogle's kind of fallen over. All right, if you have any more questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we are gonna switch over to Mass Effect. I'm just looking at my cat in the meantime. Just mostly, I've been so stressed out this week. I had a like full-blown anxiety attack. Look, is naughty. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? My nails are very pretty. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to paint them after the stream. Look at them. They've been going for a week, and they're still not chipped, except like this finger for some reason. Yeah, I'm really into nail polish. I bought way too much nail polish this week. But hey, you know, we all cope in different ways. You know, like I said, you know, whatever's going on with you, whatever you're feeling, whether it's, you know, whether you're happy, sad, depression, anxiety, you're like welcome here. Like, this is not a space where I want everyone to just be happy and cheerful all the time. You can just be crappy and vibe. That's totally okay. That's totally alright. Nathan, welcome to the stream. That is awesome. Yeah, I think it's just practice. Like, I'm getting better at polishing my offhand as well. Alright, I'm gonna switch over to effect. My ears. There we go. Yep. Oh my, what is this thing doing? There we go. What is... There we go.